Welcome to Up Close and Personal, heard exclusively on MalcolmPresents.com, a streaming platform heard round the world and beyond, wherever beyond means. I'm your host, Malcolm Berman, and today our special guest is Allan Schwartzberg, who is, I don't know, how do you claim yourself? Are you studio drummer, producer, music aficionado?
Boy wonder, no. Studio musician, um, and touring musician, rock and roll mainly. Started out as jazz only, and it morphed into rock and roll because as a jazz player, my bar bill was much more than I was getting paid. So we had to do a pivot about 40, 50 years ago. I heard James Brown and I heard the Meters, and I said, "Well, there's another way to play, get that jazzy feeling." So that I'm a rock and roll drummer, I guess.
You now, when did you know that you had a special talent for music? Like I knew since I was a kid that I had no ear for music. How did you realize that you were?
That it's not exactly a gift, although it can be. It's knowledge, but I wasn't sure I had a gift. I didn't think about a gift. I I love drums. I was walking to Hebrew school at 10 years old, and I heard a drummer playing in a brownstone. The notes were like wafting through the open window, and I went into a trance,
Huh?
and I said, I got to do that. I want to do that. It was sort of like a swing era, cozy pole kind of drumming, and I immediately went home from yeshiva to practice getting those sounds on the washing machine and dryer, you know. And that's all I know is I went into a trance that I haven't come out of.
Uh, I know that I think I told you the story that my son at about 11, 12 years old decided he wanted to play the drums. So he took drum lessons. But
Yeah.
it was so rigorous, the exercises and the times he had to spend just drumming, just
Oh
keeping
man.
time, that he gave up after about maybe half a year. So, but you really fell in love with it, all the accoutrements, everything that you had to
I've
do.
never stopped learning. Yeah, I did. I wish I would have known, and I wish there was technology like we have now. It would have made life easier. Uh, seeing the drumming instead of just hearing the drumming on records. To see how the drummer's doing it. That's like you see on YouTube. So if I were to start today, I think I wouldn't have had to practice 8 hours a day, which is what I did growing up.
Yeah, well, you produce your own. Did you produce your own records or your own?
I produce. I consider myself a record producer. I've produced some strange records, but I drummed on Alice Cooper records, Kiss records, um, Peter Gabriel, Mountain, Roger Jones, all these stars, Maynard Ferguson. Uh, but I produced records like Regis Philbin and his wife singing, which, which was a lot of fun. B.J. Thomas, a great country singer, singing bossa nova. I produced what I wanted to produce in the studio that I opened on Broadway.
Yeah, I think I was up there. By the way, just to fill in the audience, I know Alan for I think the past 50 something years because he's married to my cousin, which is an interesting story as I told him, and then he told me his adding to that. Of course, her name is Susan Schlossberg. And she always wanted, I remember as a kid, she wanted to marry, oh, yeah, I'm going to marry, John Allen Brown or Allen Jones. She always wanted a
Yes,
simple last name. So who did she meet? Allan
yep.
Schwartzberg.
And when we met, I hated my last name, and it was just way too Jewish. A lot of people would add syllables to it, like Schwarzenberger. Like it wasn't long enough. So when I met Susan, I said, I got a long last name. You don't want to know that. It's just I said, what's your last name? And she said Schlossberger, and that opened the door.
And
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 we
and
had a good laugh at that.
and 50 years later, right? You married what, 50,
Yeah, we're married 52 years.
52 years. And
Yeah.
and actually, she calls herself Susan Schlossberg Schwartzberg,
Yes, she does.
which makes me it just made me spit all over the monitor.
Right. It's material for spit tape.
Yeah. But anyway, again, when I went to your wedding, as I told you, I sat at the table with Mary Travis. Did you play with Mary, or you played with Peter, Paul, and Mary?
I
Or?
did an album. Yeah, I did an album with Mary. Did a lot of albums over the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
Mhm.
Mainly. A lot of records.
Yeah, and I know B.J. Thomas, who I
Yes,
sat at the
BJ.
table with
We
also,
did
and
about 5 albums together, and then I produced one, which is called "Once I Love,"
what-
which is I'm very proud of. It's a beautiful record, and BJ loves it too.
well, I
We're
know
good friends.
anybody that I know in the music business. And I did a show, I don't know, with Phil Margo from the Tokens, him and, Mitch. And,
Yes.
and anytime I mention your name, they say, oh, that's a great drummer. And there's a guy who lives is my neighbor, a guy named Bob Lanning. And Bob is a drummer, and I think he played in with Elvis the final years in Las Vegas.
Oh, that's a good gig.
Yeah, and then I think
He's
he's
got a
yeah.
lot of stories
Yeah, I
there.
think he might be in his 80s now, but he does. They do. He has a group that goes to Europe each year, about 3 4 months, that does Elvis songs.
Oh, and they have a new they have an Elvis impersonator, or
I don't know. They probably do, but he says that they do about 8 countries in 2 weeks.
oh, that sounds like
That's a
fun.
lot of traveling.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, did you do much traveling as a musician? Because I know you
Yeah, I
did.
did. I did a fair amount. Yeah, I was on the road with uh, Peter Gabriel,
Oh wow.
Mountain. We toured United States and Canada and England. Um, what a lot of some jazz players. Did some jobs with oh, mainly in the city, the jazz stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But Mountain. I went to Japan, did a live album with Mountain. Take Peter Chris's place, not Peter Chris. Oh, the drummer with Mountain is. Oh, I can't think of
Oh,
it.
okay. We're going to do another show anyway with you, so
Okay.
to think of his name. Yeah, I had used to, he wasn't a friend, he was a friend of her friends, this guy Al Stewart.
Ah,
Time Passages and Year of the Cat.
yes.
And I used to be
That's
friendly
a
with
great
him.
record.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I don't know, he must be in his 70s or 80s now. I think he's still touring with that group. singing that song. But
Oh, wow.
but I remember the wild things that that they would tell me what happens when they were on the road, especially in Europe.
There's stories from the road that are great.
And
Everybody's got a few.
and this is a not an X-rated show, so we can't get into that.
Yeah,
And especially I know, and since Susan might be listening,
exactly.
but you also had I know for a while you were the band leader and for Geraldo Rivera when he had his show.
Yes, I actually was the band leader on the first so-called hit band behind the talk in the talk show, uh, i.e., Letterman, um, Merv Griffin,
Oh,
you know, all the talk shows, Arsenio Hall. We had the first band that was no, okay,
huh?
it was a rock and roll band, rock and roll jazz band.
And were you the leader of that, or you were just part
I
of it?
was the leader,
The leader.
yeah. And there's tapes available of that show. You go on YouTube, and it was called Good Night America, and
Eh.
there's some good, there's some funny haircuts on there.
Did you have your hair like that? I don't remember.
It was
And the
as big
beard.
as I could get it. It would fill up the screen.
Well, you look like if I didn't know better, I think you would perm your hair because it's so curly. I envy you on that.
Yours looks great though, man.
Yeah,
I told you.
yeah. That's as I say. That's
Yours looks more modern than mine
oh.
does.
and the beard I had for since it's been dark.
Yeah. I don't know if can you see my beard?
Yeah.
It doesn't pay to shave, right?
What I do,
Purpose is good.
I have a clip. I have a machine that trims it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I use this scissors.
Oh. Because well, that's what I do with the hair also. But anyway, you were also you also wrote the theme song for Geraldo, if I remember correctly,
Yeah,
at the show for the
yeah,
show.
yes, but I kind of borrowed some of it from a band called Dreams, which I played with the Brecker Brothers. You ever hear the Brecker Brothers?
No.
Brecker Brothers had a great band, which I was lucky enough to play a bunch of concerts with, and they had one song called come
Right.
on, I can't think of it, but it was I I I took some feelings from that, some vibe from that song, and created a new song.
Mm-hmm.
It, and it's all in the family, so it's not any kind of
No,
busting,
yeah.
exposing myself.
I always envied guys like you or musicians because they could hear it. They could hear the music in their head. Where I know there are composers that I forget it with Mozart or Beethoven that was deaf that composed
Yes,
symphonies
Beethoven.
and it was Beethoven and it was all in his head. And when I did my show with Phil Margo, it was more of a political show than a music show because Phil was very left wing and he would get agitated and yell and scream. I mean, he passed away. He
Yes,
passed away about a year and a half ago.
he was a good guy.
Yeah, and
He
he
was
did.
also a very good drummer.
Yeah. Well,
You know,
he played the drums or did his brother played the drums? I think Mitch.
Mitch played a little bit of everything, but Phil was mainly a drummer.
Drummer.
I don't think he played anything
No.
else.
But he could. What he told me is like when he would listen to the radio when he was a kid, he could hear where the different sections should come in. He was producing his own records. in his head
Yeah,
when he
I
was
bet he
young.
did. Yeah.
And for me, I remember trying out for the a music class in junior high school, and they'd play a note and they say, "Is this higher or lower?" I couldn't tell the difference. Of course,
Ah,
I never made the
yes.
music class.
We're not going to be using you on any vocals, I don't think,
Right.
in the coming years. Okay.
Well,
Thanks for that tip, Paul.
everybody tells me I have a great voice for talking, but but I can't carry a tune. So again, when I see you play and you know exactly when to come in and to beat the drums.
I I wonder who. You just made me think. I wonder who encouraged your brother to sing. 'Cause he was great guy, but one of the worst singers. Great lawyer.
My brother.
Yes,
Well,
great lawyer, but bad singer.
yeah, I think one of his big songs he loved was "Because of You,"
Yeah.
and me,
Get through that finger.
I always liked Johnny Ray because I like
Yeah.
screaming.
It didn't take much to get your brother to sing.
No, but it took a lot to get him to stop singing.
That's correct. That's exactly right.
Yeah, it's.
Okay, Shell.
I mean,
You got it.
Shell
You
has.
got it.
It's going to be 2 years in May, believe it or not.
Uh,
And to this day, some days, something happens to me in my life.
yeah.
I think, gee, I have to call him up and tell him
Uh, right.
because our dad passed away. I was just going to be 18, and Shelley was like 10 years older than me. So a lot of
Oh,
so a lot of my growing up, Shelley was basically the big brother who told me what to do, who advised me.
oh. Is he also the one that said, "Get out of here, kid"? These are my friend.
No. Actually, when he was, when I was younger, when he was a teenager, when I was 7, 8 years old, as a matter of fact, every weekend we used to go to your mother-in-law's house because my grandfather lived there, Aunt Gussie.
Yeah.
And Shelley would call up about 6 o'clock and say, "Come on home, I need the car." Because he would go out with his friends. So my mother took us. We're about a half hour away. We schlepped into the car and went home, and Shelley took the car.
You just mentioned my wife Susan's mother.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as I call it, your suegra, because now I'm married to a Latino lady. But anyway, getting back to your music
Yeah.
business. So you first started out. You like to do jazz.
I wanted to be a jazz player. Jazz is just like it was just a very high form of dance music, any kind of you wouldn't think of it as dance music,
No.
but it was, and rhythmically it was the most sophisticated of the genres, and I had to switch. I had to make a switch because as I said before, I got very accustomed to sleeping indoors.
And you couldn't make money doing jazz.
Now
Didn't you played at one of the big clubs in the village?
I was the house drummer for a spell at the half note.
The half note.
Right.
That was a well known spot for
Well-known spot for
jazz.
jazzers. And Susan came down there with my wife. Susan came down with her boyfriend at the
And with
time.
her boyfriend.
Yeah.
The nerve of her.
Yes. All, all I could think of is I wonder if she's liking the way I'm playing. And then when I got off the bandstand, I said, "So what'd you think?" And she said, "What were you playing again? What instrument?" But
Now, generally, the drummer is like the high note, or not the high note, but basically like the ladies' man of the band.
I heard that.
Yeah, because you think of, well, in my days, you think of like Gene Krupa.
Oh yeah,
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 especially with him and with being high, but because I mean, he could go on for hours. Did you have that energy when you were younger?
yeah, yeah. I the band called Mountain that I played with, I would lose 5 pounds every show.
Wow.
It was just labor, really, really hard on your hands.
Yeah, as I say, I didn't realize the physicality you had to do until my son started taking drums.
Yes, right. You
And
mentioned
like
like,
he just couldn't take even though he was a soccer player. In fact,
ah,
to this day, he's like 20, he's gonna be 28 years old. He still plays soccer. He's a goalkeeper.
ah.
But the to play the drums, it wasn't him.
Well, it's all four limbs going. It's not walking or running. It's this upper body, lower body movement, and most of all, the responsibility of keeping beat. That is the hardest part.
Yeah.
Just keeping that rhythm even, and so you could tap your foot to it, and maybe even get up and dance.
Yeah. Yeah. And everything has to come out of your head because your head signals your hands what to do and your legs what to do. So
Oh
your
yeah, yeah.
so your
You have to
reflexes
be there at the moment.
your reflexes must be tremendous because as I say, like I know when I'm driving a car now, as I got older, I cannot. I notice, like when I see something and the car comes, I see it. It goes to my muscles, but by the time my leg goes, it's like about 2-3 seconds difference. Did you find that? Did you find that when you were drumming as you got older that you were just a little offbeat, or it didn't? Your mind, your sense of rhythm didn't
I
fit with.
think it's just the physicality.
Yeah.
Like I love God. It's very much like music, especially drumming. It's very much like drumming. But all of a sudden, I'm now 81 years old, and I hit the golf ball half the distance I used to. One half.
Yes. Speak to Tiger Woods. He'll tell you the story about that.
Oh yeah.
Because now
That,
he said his son is out driving him, Charlie, who's I think
ah,
16.
yeah. He's beautiful. Son is amazing.
It's like a carbon copy of him.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean the way they walk, the way they move.
Yes,
Do you still do sessions with the drums, or are you?
I do what sessions are left is mainly recordings for people that pay for their albums to be done, like rich people who always wanted to sing,
Huh?
and uh, everybody's got their drummer that goes on the road with them that wants to do the record, and they can do it. They're able to. Whereas when I was doing it, a lot of the drummers did not play metronomically even, and that's why ringers like me and some other guys in New York and California, would be called to do the drumming.
Is there a difference between a drummer that goes on tour that does live shows and a studio
Yeah,
drummer?
yeah, there is a difference. Uh, Sometimes not that not that much, but the drummers nowadays are better than my era. Everybody's, I think it's like the TV picture is better than it used to be.
Mm.
Um, People's health is better
Well,
than it
people
used to
live
be.
longer.
Yeah, people live longer. It's just, I, I think that drummers. How could I put this?
Mm.
But I think I did. I think I did it. I
Yeah.
think I said,
How,
yeah.
how is what was it, how is the industry now? You know, now that they have AI and you can create the different sounds of the drums and the, in fact, you don't even need an orchestra to put together a record or a band.
What they're doing with AI is you could understand why the showbiz writers, actors went on strike. It's frightening. It's frightening. They could. Charlie Parker died about 50 years ago. Charlie Parker, who practically invented jazz and a bebop jazz.
Mm.
Now they could take a song that was written yesterday and take Charlie Parker's sounds and have him play it solo on your record as if he was alive, a brand new, never played before solo, because AI figures out what he would do with the configuration of chord changes and keys and stuff like that, and tempos, and you feed the computer. Here's Charlie Parker. Okay, now take this piece of music, play it like Charlie Parker.
Mm. So,
Can you imagine?
do you have any protection? Do you have like copyrights to your music or to your when you did an album or a song? And you know the do you own any copyrights to your to your sound?
Yeah. I'm not a songwriter, but all my friends that write songs uh, do have them copyrighted. Everybody's copyrighted, and they have musicologists who, in if it comes to a lawsuit, will testify that it's a ripoff or it's not a ripoff.
Hmm. But let's say you do one of your records that you do and you know it's your drum sound. Can they take that, lift it
You're,
out?
you're on a different subject. I have, if you could look it up, I'm one of the most sampled drummers, having been sampled on, I think it's 908 albums. All the hip hop artists have used bars of the drum tracks from the James Brown record, Funky President, which was a hit record, and that's me drumming on it. And that's my sound on drums has been used on 908 records that and other drummers should have been rewarded for somehow, compensated.
But
And not a penny.
not a penny.
Not a penny. No.
Is there? Can you do any lawsuits, or that's let's say class actions?
I think maybe someday it will happen.
Yeah,
But,
too bad my brother's not around because he was a big class action attorney.
oh, your brother was a class action. Yeah,
Yeah,
he might have enjoyed
yeah.
tackling something like that.
Right. If you told him if he was around today, he would become irate because
That's right.
he always liked representing the little man against the
Yes,
establishment.
he had some nice wins too.
Oh yeah. His cases are in the the record book, and
Yes, yes,
and I think probably people study him now.
right. But I should have beat Liz. I should have taken advantage of that
Hmm. Well, you can still yeah.
when he was here.
But are you doing anything professionally now aside from using a studio? Or?
Well, the only thing that resembles professionalism is that I practice every day,
Uh-huh.
and there's some possible things coming up, but I got to get really really excited about it to want to do it. I think I've done enough,
Yeah,
pretty
it's
much.
it's more what you want to do now, right?
I would enjoy getting the calls. I'm not sure I would enjoy taking the job. You
Ah.
know,
And you wouldn't be interested. I know. I remember. I mean, years ago that you know that you weren't really interested in going on the road because basically you'd be away from your family.
right? But right now, I'm Susan and I are hanging heck with each other, and I'm supporting whatever she wants to do, and chauffeuring and doing whatever whatever she needs.
Well,
Honored to do it.
I know you have a great family because I see on Facebook, even though I don't see them or I don't see you because I know you're living between Florida and New York and I'm in LA.
Right.
But I see your daughters, I see your grandkids.
Yes. It's beautiful.
But anyway,
Uh,
believe it
yeah.
or not, believe it or not, our half hour is up.
Oh, okay.
And this show probably will go on. I don't know, probably another few weeks because I have some other things, and it'll be on malcolmpresents.com.
Great. Let me know,
I
man.
will, and it'll be malcolmpresents.com, and then you can go over. Then you'll see a section. It'll say up close and personal, and
Great.
that's where you'll be on.
Thanks for the opportunity and the very, very thoughtful question.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed. And next time
I
you're in Los
did.
Angeles, give me a call, because
We
I know
always have a
you.
good time when we talk.
I know that you had been in L.A. years ago. Who did you play with? Steve Terrell.
Oh, Steve Terrell, I did a lot of work with.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he just had a physical thing happen
Oh,
that's kind of limiting his appearances.
I'm sorry to
But
hear that.
yeah.
No, I know Susan would tell me you were out here, but you had like 2 days or something, and you were totally busy, and you never came to visit me. Anyway, on that
This
note,
is
thanks.
great timing. This would be very typical Jewish family to start a fight at the end.
Of course.
At the end of this.
Think it's called Jewish guilt. Anyway, thanks a
Right.
lot. Thanks a
All
lot.
right. All right,
You've
Mal.
been
Love
listening to
you. Take
Allan
care.
Schwartzberg. This is Malcolm. This is Malcolm Berman on malcolmpresents.com. Bye.